Okay, guys, let's take a look at last year's drafts again. This is a part two on a previous video. I guess I'll probably put a link here if I can find it. The intent of this video was to find something insightful to show what I did after kind of butchering the top half of the draft and never drafting enough wide receivers with the exception of one team. My theory was, did I make up with it, or did I make up for it by drafting more wide receivers in the rounds right after round 10? And did I make up for it by drafting more receivers overall? My hope was I at least made up for it by drafting more receivers overall. I figured it wouldn't be enough in this, orange area the first three rounds after round 10. Uh, they're so bad that there's not really much insight to show here. It's just more of don't do what I do, I think. So we're going to go through this rather quickly, and then we're going to look at some of the drafts we've done so far this year and see if things are looking better in some of these different ways. So ideally, we'd have a lot more wide receivers in this 10, 10 12, 11, 12, 13 range, and it didn't happen, as you can tell. Uh, there's actually the number of wide receivers for the rest of the rounds, um, 10, 11 through 20. And with the exception of one of them, I probably didn't draft, I mean, not the exception of one of them, I probably didn't draft enough overall in these drafts. And I definitely didn't draft enough in this orange area either. Let's take a look. Okay, we'll see if I can make sense of this as we go along. Uh, so you'd expect, at least my theory was, I'd have at least two in this orange area to make up for my lack of wide receivers early on. You can see here, I only got one wide receiver and I drafted two more running backs. And that took me up to 1, 2, 3, 5 running backs in the first 13 rounds and only 5 wide receivers. Whoops, my bad. And I only took one more in all the rest of the rounds, like way overweight. Like I thought my wide receivers were so good I didn't need any more or something like that. And just kind of silly as we're looking at it now. Second one here, I only took 4 in the second half, and I took 0 in this area also. I mean, I guess if I'm taking 0 wide receivers in the 11, 12, 13 range, I probably should be taking, all of these almost as wide receivers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide receivers or close to. I got Puka in this draft, didn't matter. 7 wide receivers. Could I have even done that? Probably not. I would have had, wow. I got Kenny Pickett as my number 2 QB. Like that was going to help out at all. So let's just assume the Kenny Pickett pick was an okay pick there as to be a second QB. I had 2 QBs, I guess. No, I didn't think Richard. Yeah, Anthony Richard Kenny Pickett. I got enough running back. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs. I got more than enough running backs right there. I don't need any more. If I'm going to draft 5 and 13, I don't think. We can debate if I drafted the right ones or not. That's another story. And then I got 1 tight end. And I got my second tight end as well. So I got all my players here. I could theoretically just go and blast off 7 wide receivers here and hope for the best. Probably be the right thing to do. Looking at just the construction now. Next draft, I drafted 4 more again in this one. I did take 2 in this orange area, so I'll give myself a little bit of kudos in this one actually, in that I realized or I just mistakenly stumbled upon getting a couple of wide receivers in this one. So I kind of made up for a tad with this draft right here. I took the Cole Kmet pick because I had Justin Fields, so I was trying to match that. Okay, I'll give myself this one a little bit. Next one right here. Did I only get 2 tight ends? Hopefully I did on this one. Good. Okay, next one. Only 1 wide receiver after only drafting 4 in the first 10 rounds. And here's the other problem too, is like with this one here, I'm waiting until round 3 to get my first wide receiver. and then I'm passing and then waiting until round 5 and 6 to get to wide receiver 3. Take Elijah Moore right here in round 8. Disaster of the pick. But not only am I not hammering wide receiver later on in the draft, but I'm also not having a strong enough wide receiver team up front on this team. What am I doing instead? I'm getting my flex running back is what I'm doing. Bijan, Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, and then I feel like I need to follow up with Zach Charbonnet right here. That's just silly is what it is. And then at least I didn't take another running back right here. So I'll give myself that credit. But yeah, this is another team where I need to be like, I would have to I would have to kind of salvage this one by like going almost all hardcore wide receiver at the end. Here's another one with Puka. Didn't matter because I drafted the rest of the team so bad. Let's see. Three. So if I get 3 wide receivers, I shouldn't be drafting any more wide receivers at all, basically. I got my 2 tight ends already. I got a QB. So this pick here, this 10th pick, I got a QB right here in this section. Yeah, I shouldn't be taking this fourth running back, obviously, and make it whatever you want to make it. But then the rest of these picks, again, could be wide receivers. And that's the only way I'm going to potentially win this with this build. 4 and 4 again. Got it. Anchor running back. 1, 2, 3. For some reason, I follow up with 2 more right here to end up with 5 running backs in the first 10 rounds. And then I still follow up with another running back here. So again, I have 4, and then I only have 1 in this section. You can see just how there's no logic behind any of this based on what's been successful in best ball. So yeah, just trashing myself here through these drafts. We got a couple more left. I don't know if I want to go through the rest of them. At least I'm starting off with a wide receiver in this one. I got another wide receiver. That being said, I'm still going relatively heavy on running backs. I need more running back or wide receivers in this window. Here, the 11th through 13th round, and I got 0. In fact, I got 2 more running backs and then a trashy QB. Where was, I guess Pickett was probably going somewhere around this point in time. 13th round, what is that? You know, the 150s, 140s, 150s. These aren't perfect, but I think these are representative for the most part. Let's see if we can find Kenny Pickett in here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't. Obviously, I had a hot take from someone. Here's my own hot take. Let's just blame me for it. Thought Pickett. There he is. He's actually taking it 134. Was what he had up? What this is showing? And this I can't really rely on this data, but 134. I was one of those people like Pickett, though I guess. Next one. This one I actually got 5 wide receivers, so I kudos to me on this one. I did actually take a 6th wide receiver here in that window. I do kind of like this one a little bit in that I didn't ignore wide receiver at this point in time, but I sprinkled in other things that I thought were important. If they were not, it's another story. Jordan Love was a hit, so that's nice right there. And I had Christian Watson, who wasn't a hit, so wah wah. Next draft here, only 3. These last 2 drafts, only 3 wide receivers in the second half. Are only taking 4 in the first half. Just not smart. And you can see I'm not hammering the wide receivers enough early on. I'm like sprinkling them in, like, oh, I'll take this one, I'll take this one. So I had Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper here for taking Drake London. So I got 3 through 5, which is okay. And I have 4 through 6. So at least I went pretty hard here as far as wide receivers go. I took Rashee Rice here also in the little window. I obviously should have taken more than one right here. I was just getting too excited about these other players that were in other positions, thinking they were going to be more valuable, and they weren't. I'm hoping that what I'm doing this year makes more sense. We'll find out. I'm pretty sure it does from everything that I'm trying to better understand. Last one, again, 4 and 3 in the second half. And I did take the first 3 through 5, and then I waited until round 10 to take the fourth one. And then I got only one in this yellow zone here. So whoops, just not smart overall. So there we go. Trash drafts, none of them for the most part are good. Let's see what I'm doing this year. This is the one tournament style one, and we'll look at some sit and goes as well, because I just got more of those under my belt so far this year. I already have highlighted rounds 11, 12, and 13 to see what I did there. In this draft, I ended up with 5 wide receivers through 6 rounds. So I ended up with 5 in the first 10, and those 5 came much earlier. Because of that, I was able to move to other positions. And then during this section in the middle of the draft, again, rounds 11, 12, and 13, you can see that I was able to sprinkle in what I wanted to. The one thing I didn't sprinkle in here, which I sprinkled in over and over in the other drafts, was a tight end. Right? Like, look at this. I got 1 tight end, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I was like going hardcore tight end in the middle of these teams, and some of them were correlated, but a lot of them weren't even correlated, which is even worse. Like Tennessee's tight end, I didn't draft the Tennessee quarterback early, and I didn't look like I drafted him late either. Why was that so important? This one I got Fields, so that makes sense. Whereas this one I didn't get Fields, so why am I doing that? Where are the next ones? We got Higgins right here. I didn't really draft much Matthew Stafford at all, so I'd be surprised. Yep, no Matthew Stafford. Here's Higbee again, like no Matthew Stafford again. And then Cole Kmet, and there's no Fields. So why am I going out of my way to grab these tight ends and then not correlating them at all? That, I mean, like I was saying they're valuable, but then I'm not showing that they're valuable in any way. They don't have enough standalone value. It's another way to put it as well as I'm thinking through this. So I didn't take anything there. In fact, you can see I took a QB, which I had already correlated, but this is a quarterback that I can also correlate later on, which I did with Sinnott right here. I took a wide receiver that backstacking, and I could later on take their QB, which I did. And then this pick right here doesn't really correlate with anything in any super meaningful way. There's a correlation here somewhere, I know that, but it's not like a super meaningful correlation. I know they play the Bears, but anyways, this running back is kind of filling a little bit of a hole because I waited so long to grab my running backs in the first place. So I'm okay with that, and it kind of makes sense in that he has some standalone value without an injury, but if there's an injury or incompetence as the running back gets older, he maybe gets more run. So you can already see no tight end in the small part, and no players that were just taken because I just liked them. Let's go look at some sit and goes and see what we got. We're looking at rounds 11, 12, and 13 again, which are right in this area here. You can see that. Let's just start from this way, the more recent ones, and go over. This one here, I got 2 running backs and a wide receiver. And I'd already had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers earlier. So I took my 6th one in the middle there. And then I had avoided running back in this whole middle part, and then just grabbed 2 valuable running backs to pair with my 2 like a bully running back type of strategy that I had going on for this one, or 2 top end running backs. This one right here, this is actually one where, look at this, this looks similar to the drafts we're looking at, in that there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers in the first 10. But then I tried to rectify that a bit by then going wide receiver in 11 and 12, right? I did take a tight end here. I was just making my fun of myself. It looks like the only tight end I've taken right through these drafts in this section of 11, 12, 13 has been Luke Musgrave. I did it twice. Actually, I got Cole Kmet once, Dalton Schultz once. So I did take a tight end 1, 2, 3, 4 times in this little window we're talking about, but that was because I already had my wide receivers earlier. And so I do think it was probably a little more okay. Let's see if this Luke Musgrave. So this was just filling out my tight end, I guess. I do like Luke Musgrave as a potential like number 2 tight end. Like maybe one of the last of the tight ends if you wanted to have 2 tight ends for your build. I think Luke Musgrave can do that if you want to be a little risky. So I did that there with this one. On this team right here, I did take a bunch of wide receivers early, and then I took 2 running backs and the start of my QB run in this little window. So just avoiding wide receiver because I had so many wide receivers. This one here, again, pummeled wide receivers early, took down Tavius Wicks in the middle, and 2 running backs here. So you can see I'm really hammering this, the running backs during this area, which you've seen a lot of my videos too. Again, wide receivers early, hammering some running backs, another QB. This one I took Cole Kmet in this 11, 12, 13 area. Let's see if this one, you can see I got Caleb Williams in this one though. So this was a strategic play to go and grab my guy versus just some random person in the middle. So, right now you feel better about this, grabbing this guy here. In fact, both these wide receivers also match up with my wide receiver here. And I was basically wide receiver out for the most part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Took Odell Beckham at the end of it as like an 8th wide receiver. But totally makes sense what I did during this 11, 12, 13. I think this is a nice time to do some correlating. You've seen some of the drafts, a good amount of them, right? Maybe I've correlated earlier, but I don't think you need to, especially if you have more of a flat structure for how things work. The ones that you've seen me maybe do a little bit more hardcore correlation would be in these ones where almost all the money's going to the first place person in the entire thing. Who knows if it's the right thing to do? I'm not going too hard at it, but I'm just maybe going a little bit extreme to just to match the extreme payout structure. This one right here, again, a lot of wide receivers early, and I still follow this with a wide receiver, then a running back, then a QB. This one actually was a mistake. This running back should have probably done the QB as well. I remember this one. It's many nightmares on that one. Doesn't really matter, but nightmares. This one right here, again, bunch. So you can see look at all the yellow at the beginning that I have overall, but I do have some takes if I can find them. So I do like how this is looking on here. This one, I went wide receiver early and I still hit wide receiver late here. I felt comfortable, I guess, with what else I had. And so I went wide receiver, and then a QB. I am not digging this team though. With Brock Purdy's got to carry me all the way, and JJ McCarthy's got to get on the field. I don't know what I was thinking here with this one. That's kind of ugly overall. Very thin chance to win in this one. I was drafting these thinking JJ McCarthy would get on the field really, really early. Reports now are saying he might not. I think his ADP is dropping. And it makes me feel like I made some mistakes here with some of these builds possibly. Here's another one where I got Lamar Jackson and JJ McCarthy as my 1-2 punch. Again, I need Lamar Jackson to just ball out for most of the season. Hopefully JJ McCarthy comes on strong. These are mistakes, obviously. Like, I don't know, that just wasn't smart now that I'm looking at it. This one here, wide receivers early, and then in this middle area, um, running back, grabbing a wide receiver or QB right here because I think this one most of the QBs were kind of getting taken, and I had to make a choice at some point in time. Correlated a little bit with Ford. I think as we go further along, these ones might look the ugliest, just because I feel like through these 12 that we've looked at, um, no, so yeah, these 12 that we've looked at over time, I feel like I'm putting things together. Hopefully, I'm making more sense as I go through these. Maybe you're enjoying it. I'm having fun doing it. With that, don't do what I did last year like this. And maybe there's something to be had for what I'm doing this year. Happy drafting. See you on the boards and have a good one. Peace.